Once upon a time, in a sunny meadow filled with colorful flowers, lived a playful little dog named Sparky. Sparky was not just any dog, he was a bundle of joy and energy, always ready for an adventure. His fur was a soft golden brown, and his eyes sparkled with curiosity and mischief. Every day in the meadow was a new opportunity for Sparky to discover something exciting and new. Sparky loved to wag his tail, chase butterflies, and play fetch with his favorite red ball. The red ball was not just a toy, it was his most cherished possession. He would spend hours running after it, his ears flopping in the wind and his tail wagging furiously. The butterflies, with their delicate wings and vibrant colors, were another source of endless fascination for Sparky. He would leap and bound, trying to catch them, but they always seemed to stay just out of reach. He was always full of energy and loved to explore the world around him. The meadow was his playground, and every corner held a new surprise. From the rustling leaves to the chirping birds, everything caught Sparky's attention. He would dart from one end of the meadow to the other, his nose to the ground, sniffing out new scents and discovering hidden treasures. One bright and sunny morning, Sparky bounded through the tall grass, his tail wagging excitedly. The sun was shining, the sky was a brilliant blue, and the meadow was alive with the sounds of nature. Sparky felt a surge of happiness as he ran, the tall grass brushing against his fur. He loved the feeling of freedom and the thrill of the chase. He sniffed at the sweet wildflowers and chased after a playful butterfly, its wings a blur of color against the clear blue sky. The wildflowers were in full bloom, their sweet fragrance filling the air. Sparky loved to bury his nose in the flowers, taking in their scent. The butterfly, with its delicate wings, fluttered just out of reach, leading Sparky on a merry chase across the meadow. Sparky loved to explore, and today was no different. Every day was an adventure for Sparky, and he never knew what he might find. The meadow was a vast, open space filled with hidden nooks and crannies, and Sparky was determined to explore every inch of it. He loved the thrill of discovery and the excitement of finding something new. As Sparky ran, he noticed something he had never seen before. It was unusual for Sparky to come across something new in the meadow, as he had explored it so thoroughly. But today, something caught his eye. It was a glint of sunlight reflecting off a hidden object, partially obscured by the tall grass and wildflowers. It was a circular stone structure, half hidden by overgrown vines and colorful wildflowers. The structure looked ancient, as if it had been there for centuries, forgotten by time. The vines had woven themselves around the stones, creating a natural tapestry of green and color. Sparky had never seen anything like it before, and his curiosity was piqued. Curious, Sparky slowed his pace and cautiously approached the strange object, his wet nose twitching as he tried to sniff out what it was. He took careful steps, his ears perked up, and his eyes wide with wonder. The stone structure seemed to hold a mystery, and Sparky was determined to uncover it. He sniffed around the base, his nose picking up the scent of moss and earth. What could this strange structure be? Sparky's mind raced with possibilities, and he knew that this was just the beginning of a new adventure. Sparky circled the stone structure, his tail wagging slowly as he tried to figure out what it was. It was tall and round, with a small opening at the top. He stood on his hind legs and peeked over the edge, his ears perked with curiosity. Peering down, Sparky saw darkness. He barked once, twice, but only silence greeted him in return. He whined, feeling a little scared. The darkness seemed to go on forever, and he wondered what secrets it might hold. Sparky, though a little afraid, was very brave. He took a deep breath and barked again, louder this time. To his surprise, he heard a faint sound in response, a sort of echo of his own bark. Sparky tilted his head, puzzled. He dropped a small pebble into the hole and listened intently. A moment later, he heard a tiny plunk sound from the depths. Sparky's tail wagged excitedly. He loved playing fetch, and this seemed like a fun new game. Sparky continued to drop pebbles into the mysterious hole, barking happily each time he heard the plunk sound. But soon, all the playing made him thirsty. He lapped up a bit of water from a nearby puddle, but it tasted muddy and unpleasant. Looking back at the strange stone structure, Sparky remembered seeing a bucket tied to a rope hanging from the side. He wondered if there was water at the bottom of the dark hole. Maybe I can reach the water with this bucket, he thought to himself. Just then, Sparky heard the gentle flapping of wings. He looked up and saw a wise old owl perched on a branch above him. The owl had been watching Sparky and hooted softly. "Hello, little one," the owl greeted Sparky. "What are you doing with that well?" Sparky wagged his tail and explained that he was thirsty and wanted to try and get water from the well using the bucket. Section 6. A lesson learned. The wise old owl listened patiently to Sparky's plan. Sparky, the little dog, was full of enthusiasm and energy. He had come up with what he thought was a brilliant idea to fetch water from the deep well in the forest. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he explained every detail to the owl. When he was finished, the owl hooted again, this time a little sadly. The owl had seen many such plans before, and he knew the challenges that lay ahead for Sparky. "Little one," the owl said gently, "that well is very deep." The owl's voice was calm and soothing, filled with the wisdom of many years. He wanted to encourage Sparky, but also needed to make him understand the reality of the situation. "Your legs are too short to reach the water, even with the bucket." Sparky's ears drooped. He had been so sure of his plan, but now he felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. The realization that his plan might not work was hard to accept. He hadn't thought of that. Sparky began to ponder deeply. He had been so focused on the excitement of his idea that he hadn't considered the practical difficulties. He looked down at his short legs, then back up at the bucket dangling so far out of reach. The owl was right. The bucket seemed to be miles away, and Sparky's short legs suddenly felt even shorter. He would never be able to get the water himself. Sparky felt a sense of defeat, but the wise owl wasn't finished. The owl knew that this was a moment for a valuable lesson. He wanted Sparky to learn that sometimes, even the best plans need a little adjustment, and that asking for help is not a sign of weakness but of wisdom. The owl suggested they work together. With the owl's guidance and Sparky's determination, they could find a way to reach the water. Sparky's eyes lit up again, and he felt a renewed sense of hope. He realized that with teamwork and a bit of creativity, they could overcome the challenge. Together, they devised a new plan. The owl used his long wings to help lower the bucket into the well, while Sparky held onto the rope with all his might. It was a perfect example of how different strengths can complement each other. After some effort, they finally managed to fetch the water. Sparky was overjoyed and grateful for the owl's help. They shared the water, and Sparky learned an important lesson that day. He understood that while it's great to have ideas and plans, it's equally important to be open to advice and to work together with others. The wise old owl had not only helped him fetch water, but it also taught him the value of collaboration and humility. As they walked away from the well, Sparky felt a sense of accomplishment and a newfound respect for the owl. He knew that this lesson would stay with him forever, guiding him in future endeavors. The forest seemed a little brighter, and Sparky's heart was full of gratitude and joy. Section 7. Sharing is caring. But don't worry, the owl continued, noticing Sparky's disappointment. There are other ways to reach the water. You can ask for help. The owl explained that the well was shared by all the animals in the meadow, and they took turns drawing water for each other. Sparky had never thought about sharing the well. He realized that the owl was right. It was better to work together and help each other than to try to do everything alone. Section 8. The gift of water. Sparky, feeling a little embarrassed, wagged his tail sheepishly. The wise old owl hooted reassuringly and said, "Come, little one, I will help you get some water." The owl flew to the well and, using its strong beak, carefully pulled the rope attached to the bucket. Sparky watched in amazement as the owl lowered the bucket into the well and pulled it back up, overflowing with cool, clear water. He lapped up the refreshing water gratefully, his tail wagging happily. Section 9. A happy ending. From that day on, Sparky always remembered the lesson he had learned from the wise old owl. The owl had told him that wisdom comes from understanding and kindness, and Sparky took these words to heart. He realized that it was important to ask for help when he needed it. No longer did he feel shy or embarrassed about seeking assistance. Instead, he understood that asking for help was a sign of strength and courage. Sparky also learned that sharing with others was always a good thing. He began to notice how much happier everyone was when they shared their resources and helped each other out. Whether it was sharing food, toys, or even just a kind word, Sparky saw the joy it brought to his friends. And so, Sparky continued to play in the sunny meadow, chasing butterflies and exploring. He loved the feeling of the warm sun on his fur and the soft grass under his paws. Every day was an adventure, filled with new sights and sounds. But now, he also made sure to share the well with all the other animals. He knew that water was precious, especially on hot days, and he wanted to make sure everyone had enough to drink. Sparky would often be seen inviting his friends to the well, making sure no one was left out. Knowing that by working together, they could all enjoy the gift of cool, refreshing water. The animals in the meadow became closer than ever, forming a tight-knit community. They supported each other, celebrated together, and faced challenges as a united group. Sparky felt a deep sense of belonging and happiness, knowing that he was part of something special. The meadow was not just a place to play, it was a home filled with love, friendship, and endless possibilities.